Hey there guys, and welcome to the Sunday Shred, where this week I'll be sharing with you my top 5 tips for getting and staying motivated to get out on the mountain bike.
I know where we can go. I know where we can go.
Hey guys, so you're probably asking yourself how it is that I think myself qualified to give any advice on getting or staying motivated for exercise when I'm not an athlete. I'm not even in particularly good shape for this stage of my life at the moment. I'm working on that, but you know, you might just be asking yourself that question, and the reason that I wanted to make this video is because I have, through life coaching with my partner who's a life coach and through a lot of research, I have found a phenomenon or sort of technique that works really well for me in terms of completing any task, and it really has worked for me. I haven't missed a ride. My Strava, you'll see on my Strava that I haven't been riding loads for the last couple of weeks, but that was due to the move. You know, before my injury and since my injury, I've not missed a planned ride yet, and it's 100% due to the 5 tips I'm about to share with you and the underlying sort of thing. Okay guys, so I want to start the video by giving you a little bit of information on this phenomenon or theory that I'm referring to, and it's called the Zeigarnic Effect. You'll almost certainly have heard of what it is, but perhaps not the name. It's basically the theory that human beings are much more likely to finish a task, be it at work, be it to do with exercise, whatever it is. You're much more likely to finish a task once you've started it, which sounds completely obvious, but that being said, it is a key tool that I use. It is a key theory that I use because, one, it works for me, and two, it allows you to start a task, just start a task. As simple as that. I think what a lot of people do when it comes to work, and you know, you end up procrastinating on certain things, especially exercise for one, mountain biking being a form of exercise, is that you put it off because of the fact that you look at the task as a whole. So you don't start the task because you think of it as this big chunk of thing, be it, you know, a mountain bike ride. You look at it as a 15-mile ride that's going to take you 2 or 3 hours, that's going to knock you out. You think about the whole task, which makes it a hell of a lot harder to start, and that's where this Zeigarnik effect comes into play. And this effect or phenomenon this is what I credit all of my top 5 tips. It's what I credit my ability to now feel motivated quite easily. I mean, it's easy to motivate, I guess, in a place like Spain, with the mountain biking around here. That's a massive part of it, obviously, but this really works, and this is what my top 5 tips are built on. So let's just jump straight into it, and I'll get started with the first tip. So my first tip is one to help you really get excited about mountain biking. That is the tip. Get excited about mountain biking, because if you're not thinking about mountain biking when you're off the bike, and if you're just like trying to dig the bike out of the garage at a weekend or whatever and feel, you know, jazzed up about going out on the bike, chances are it won't work. You need to be excited about mountain biking all the time. And there's a few ways to do this. I've listed 3 here. The first is to find, and this might sound like I'm a bit biased, but what I did was find a good YouTube channel, or find a number of good YouTube channels, and get obsessed with mountain biking. Watch all the footage from all over the world. Find guys that you really like to watch riding, the types of rides that you really like to watch. You know, really get stuck into it and find channels that just really get you excited about mountain biking. Because in the long term, it's gonna get mountain biking on your brain, and when it comes to Saturday, you'll be dying to get out on the mountain bike, as opposed to feeling as if you should get out on the mountain bike. So really start looking at YouTube channels, subscribe to YouTube channels, and just get obsessed with riding. The second part of this first tip is get online, get some magazines. I always used to buy MBR in the UK, MB UK, and I used to look at all the trails. I used to save all the cutouts of the maps and stuff, and read up about all the trails, and like collect them all, because it used to give me a target. It used to give me basically a bucket list of rides to do, which was just another great way of getting really excited. It's got all the gear in there. It's just, you're just researching basically, and it just gets you really excited to get out on the bike. Another one is to get out in the shed and get cleaning your bike. This is another way of getting excited, part of tip 1. Just get out and clean your bike, titivate it, bleed the brakes, whatever your level is of technical kind of prowess with your mountain bike. There's always going to be something that you can do. Just get it nice and shiny. Get it so as you've spent a load of time with it, and that you're dying to just get out on the mountain bike because you've been around it, you've cleaned it up, you've oiled the chain, you've got some air in the tyres. Just be around the bike and spend time with it, and it's just another way of really helping you get excited to get out on the mountain bike without, way before you're getting out on the mountain bike. It's just about changing your mindset so as you're excited about mountain biking again. If you've got into a bit of a funk, or if you're unsure if it's the hobby for you, which I'm sure it is, it's just that you're not excited enough about it by doing anything outside of actually riding the bike. So that's tip number 1, get excited about mountain biking. Okay, tip number 2, and this is partly the Zeigarnic Effect coming into play here, is plan ahead and commit yourself to a ride at the weekend or whenever it is that you allocate your time for riding. Plan ahead and commit yourself. Now, it can feel that by committing yourself, it can feel like basically that you shouldn't have to commit yourself. It can start to feel like, well, if I'm having to commit myself to mountain biking by telling people about it, by inviting people to come with me, then I'm basically making it hard for myself to get out of going mountain biking, and perhaps that shouldn't be the case if this is a hobby that I really want to do. But this really is these tips are really just to help you get out of a funk, because once you're motivated, once you start getting out on your mountain bike, it just feeds itself really. So this is just a way of helping you get out on the bike, which can only be a good thing. So try not to look at these things negatively. So I've broken down again, planning ahead and committing yourself. I've broken it down into 3 more parts again. So the first thing that I do is I use Strava quite a lot. I get on Strava and plan my routes. I spend ages, flicking between Strava, Terrain Map and Google Maps, because one's slightly less up to date than the other. I think it's Google Maps is more up to date. And just find single track around you. Just plan a route, plan a loop back to your house, and it just starts everything. It's basically part of starting the task. By planning that route, you've kind of started that task, so you're much more likely to actually follow through and go for the ride if you've planned it. And again, it's just another way of getting yourself excited for going out riding. The second part of this second tip, in terms of planning ahead and committing yourself, is to schedule rides and let your spouse, your partner, your family, your friends or whatever know that you've sectioned off this piece of time. For one, it helps with your family's sort of scheduling of the days. It might get you out going shopping, but if you basically what it does for me is, if I say to my partner Erin that I'm going out for a ride on Saturday, then the physical act of telling her is committed myself. There's another person that now knows that I'm supposed to be going riding on Saturday, and it just subconsciously it does something to you where it's like writing something in a diary, like a meeting or whatever. It's like saying, right, I've got that at 12:30 on that day. So it works the same way. You're just committing yourself to it and making it much more likely that you'll follow through with it. The third part of this second tip is to commit yourself further, especially if you ride with friends. I don't really ride with mates a lot, especially out here, because I don't really know anyone yet. But for people who do ride with friends, it would also help a lot if you organised a ride with your mates, especially to help you get out of a funk, because again, it's that committing yourself to doing it. You're actually organising a ride, and by not following through on the ride, you're letting your mates down. And you'll just feel that much worse about it if you don't do it. So it can feel a little bit like a negative thing, like you're scolding yourself for not doing something. But all we're doing here is we're trying to get yourself to a point where you go for that first ride, and just get back into the habit of riding. So that's tip number 2, is planning ahead and committing yourself. So tip number 3 is starting the ride the day before, which doesn't sound like it makes sense, but this is the one that's absolutely key for me and works really, really well. Obviously you can't start the physical ride the day before, but you can start the process of going for a ride the day before. And the way I do that, again, I've broken this down into a few tips, 4 tips on this one. So it's all about getting yourself and getting your bike ready for going riding. So I fill my Camelback up the day before, stick it in the fridge. I get my trail mix ready the day before, put it in my bag. I get all my tools ready in the bag, ready to go. You know, basically get all your gear ready to go. Get out in the shed, get your bike ready to go, get the oil on your chain, get your tyres pumped up, get your bike, you know, 100% ready to go. Get your clothes out, get your pads out, stick them on your nightstand, folded up, ready to go the next day. Check over your route and arrange a meeting point if you're arranging somewhere, if you're arranging a ride with your friends. And you know, this one is twofold. It's the fact that you physically start the ride the day before. I find it feels like I've started the task, and it makes it a lot more likely that you're going to finish it. And it also makes the next day a lot easier. It gives you far less excuses to get out of the ride the next day. So you might get up and not feel it, and you'll be like, oh, I've got to get my bag ready, I've got to get my bike ready, it's covered in shit in the garage. If you've done all this stuff the day before, it removes all of that out of the equation. It's just another negative factor out of the way that you don't have to worry about. So tip 3 is start the ride the day before. Get everything ready. Get everything ready for the ride the day before. Get rid of excuses and start the ride the day before. So my personal opinion is with those first 3 tips that you should be well equipped enough now to be motivated enough to ride if you do it properly. So by getting excited about mountain biking, by watching all the videos, planning ahead and committing yourself, you know, getting on Strava, planning your rides, arranging to meet up with your friends, telling your family when you're going to be out of the house. And then the third one, actually starting the ride the day before, getting everything ready, all of that good stuff. Those 3 things are enough for me. They work really well. It gets you in a really good routine throughout the week where I wouldn't say your whole week is orientated around riding, but it's certainly in your brain a lot of the time. And, you know, there is no ups and downs with your mood. You're just ready to go riding, you know, when you've said that you're going to go riding. But if those 3 tips aren't quite enough for you, the last 2 tips out of the 5 that I'm going to give are kind of for those of you that are in a deeper funk, or that, you know, at the end of winter when you've done absolutely no riding. These are the couple of tips that are more about changing your mindset and about just really aiming to get out for that first ride after a long time out. So let's get into these tips now. So tip 4 is all about using your memory. So remember back to when, you know, the way I do it when I've had to get myself out of funks is I feel really shit when I haven't been for a ride when I was supposed to, and I feel really great in the evening when, like we all do, that post mountain bike ride buzz, you know. So what you need to do is you need to sit down on the morning when you're saying to yourself, oh, you're giving yourself all these excuses not to go, which everyone does if you're having trouble with motivation. You mentally start giving yourself all these reasons why you don't need to mountain bike, or it's not such a bad thing if you don't go mountain biking. But it's just a bad cycle to be in. It just makes it all the harder. The more you put it off, the harder it is to break that cycle. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to sit down and think about how you feel in the evening after you've piked out on a ride. I always feel rubbish. The time has gone by in which that you could have gone for a mountain bike ride. You feel lazy. You feel like you know that if you had just gone for the mountain bike ride, you'd be back now and you'd be feeling the post bike ride buzz. You'd have enjoyed it. You'd have loved it. And you just feel crap. And that's every time. If I've planned a ride and I've not gone, I feel like that every time, and it's just shit. You don't want to feel like that. It's rubbish. So sit down and just remind yourself of how rubbish you feel when you've said that you're going to ride and you don't. And then obviously on the flip side of that, really focus on how you feel after you've been for a ride. So you've and not only that, but focus on how you feel during the ride, obviously, because that's what it's all about. And you never ever regret going for a ride. I've never once, and this is taken out of the equation if you go out and break your leg, you know, obviously they're the rides that you probably want to take back, but you never ever regret a ride. I never have. You know, you don't have to have the best ride. Even if you have a pretty rubbish ride, it's not very technically good, or there's not much single track or whatever, it's just not a very good ride, you still get that buzz from, you know, post exercise, you know, your muscle soreness and that really great feeling after exercise. You still have that, or you might have had a really good ride, and there's the great feeling that comes with that. And then in the evening, after it's all said and done, you sat there, all your muscles are feeling nice and warm, and it's just a really great feeling. So really focus on that, because that's what you're looking to achieve. That's the buzz. That's what mountain biking and exercising is for. It makes you feel great, and then you start to obviously be healthier and fitter, and it's just a good cycle to get into. So that's tip number 4. And then tip number 5 is when, again, like, it's when you really are in a funk, and you've got to remember that, like I said with the Zeigarnic Effect, you really have to focus hard on just starting, because you never ever, or you very rarely go out for a ride and just start the ride and then think to yourself, oh, I can't be bothered with this, and then turn around and go home. When you start a ride, 9 times out of 10, in fact 99 times out of 100, you see it through till the end. So tip 5 is about just getting out and starting the ride. I've broken this tip down into a few, dug down a little bit deeper, so as you've actually got physical tasks that you can carry out. And the first one is plan a good length ride. So plan, if your average ride is 7 miles, plan a 7-mile ride. If your ride is 10 miles, plan a 10-mile ride. If it's 20, plan 20. Plan your full ride, but if you can, plan a ride where you have bailout options at like 3 miles, 6 miles, whatever. Plan a ride where you have bailout options, because what that'll do is when you're coming to get ready to go for a ride and you're thinking to yourself, oh man, I've got a 20-mile ride planned and I just can't be bothered, you've got it in your head that you've got a 3-mile bailout. Now obviously that's not really a habit that you want to get into, actually bailing out, but like I said earlier on with the Zeigarnic Effect, once you've started the ride, chances are you're going to do the 20-miler, because you'll warm up, you'll start feeling good, you'll start enjoying it, and those bailout options will just go out the window, but they were there to help you get on the bike in the first place. So that's the first part of this 5th tip. The second is, again, just to get started, just get dressed. Just get your gear on. You don't have to, again, it's about not, if you're struggling with motivation, it's about not thinking about the mountain bike ride and everything that comes with it as a whole. It's about breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. And to start the ride, just get dressed. Just go and get your gear on, put your pads on, have some breakfast, hydrate, just that's physically starting the ride by getting ready. And then the third part of this first one is just get on the bike. So you've got dressed, you've given yourself bailout points, just get on the bike and aim for that first bailout point. If you can do that, you've won the battle. That is the hardest part of anyone that struggles with motivation. No one struggles to do a full workout. That's not what it's about. It's a different mental attitude that kicks in once you've already started something. That's when your physical stamina kicks in. That's when, mentally you've got to be prepared to kind of suffer a little bit if it's a hard ride. But the battle in terms of staying motivated to get out and ride in the first place is just that. It's just getting out and starting the ride. So just aim. That's all of this 5th tip is all about, and the 4th tip actually is just getting out and getting on the bike and getting the ride started. Once you've got the ride started, you've won the battle. You'll miss your first bailout point. You'll miss your second bailout point. You'll get a loop in, and then you'll be done. And then you'll get that good feeling in the evening that we talked about earlier on, and then it will feed itself. And then if you have to use it all again, even tips 4 and 5, then you have to use it again for next weekend. But chances are, if you've had to go right down through the list 1 to 5 and use them all to get yourself motivated to get out on the mountain bike, then if you have to do the same next week, then that's fine. But chances are after that you might need 1, 2 and 3, and then it just becomes second nature. Okay guys, that's my 5 tips on how to get and stay motivated to mountain bike. I hope that's been useful, and I hope it's come across okay. I really do believe in those tips. I'll put them in a blog post on my website. It actually comes across really well when it's written down. So if you've not quite taken it all in this video, make sure you head over to my website, which there'll be a link to the blog post in the description here. It does work really well, especially that number 3, getting your kit ready the night before. That really gets you over that hurdle the next day of physically getting on your bike. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, because I will do more motivational stuff as well as the rides, as well as the tutorials, and hit the subscribe button. I'll stick a few links here to other videos. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on Tuesday with a wheelie update. Okay, thanks a lot guys. Cheers for now.